Okay, so hi, Dan Deasy, State Rep Dan Deasy. Welcome back. I want to say thank you for rearranging, your day and everything for us, and give you a little bit about what we're doing here today. So, Weston Power is a nonprofit organization, a grassroots organization. I am the founder and president. And what we do is we try to educate our community about local offices, who they are, what they do, and make sure that the community is on one page of the who, what, where, and why. And right now we are in collaboration with McKees Rock CDC, and we're in. So that's the whole McKees Rocks. That's Stowe. The Taris is. If you want to introduce yourself, Taris, that will be awesome. And then we can start, Dan. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. You're muted. You're mute.
Yep. Hi, I'm Taris. I'm Executive Director of McKees Rocks Community Development Corporation and a lifelong McKees Rocks resident, and very excited to bring such an important set of programming to the residents of McKees Rocks and Stowe, and excited to be working with West End Power. And very grateful for you being here tonight, Dan. Thank you for taking time out to be with us.
Yes. So Dan, I know you and I had did a educational community civic series several months ago, but that was towards like all of your communities. So again, we're going to focus just on McKees Rocks and Stowe because of the uniqueness of McKees Rocks. So we're going to get started with something as simple as who are you? And where are you from?
Dan DC, it's great to be here. I live in the city of Pittsburgh, but of course I represent McKees Rocks. It's been part of my district for 12 years now. Been a lot of changes down there, I'm sure, as Taris can attest to. A lot of projects, a lot of activity. So we've been pleased to be a partner with McKees Rocks and all of the and all the work going on down there. And also with the school district, there's certainly a lot of challenges. It still rocks, and we've been a partner as best as we can to try to help with that situation as well. So,
good. Thank you for that. So can you explain to our men and women, our families that are listening, exactly what does a state rep do? What comes out of the office of a state rep? So if you can explain that. Hi, Ryan, can you mute yourself, please?
Sure. I mean, obviously, our position has changed quite a bit over the last 6 months. Our office has been inundated with many new issues that we haven't dealt with before. First and foremost, unemployment issues. We've been trying to help our residents navigate the system and the challenges of unemployment. Many residents worked for many years and paid into the system, and fortunately they didn't have to use the system, but now all of a sudden with the pandemic and so much massive unemployment at once, the system was overwhelmed with claims. So we've been doing our best to help our residents navigate through the process, communicate with them, and to make sure they get paid in a timely manner. It's been a challenge, no question about it, but that's been the bulk of our work for the last 6 months. I mean, obviously, our biggest priority as a state representative is the state budget. We deal with so many different factors in that budget, and obviously the school districts are a huge part of the budget as well. And this year with the pandemic, we're seeing also the disparities in school districts. Some schools have a lot of technical equipment for the students to learn while they're at home. Others are challenged, so that has been a very difficult part for us the last few months to make sure funding goes to the districts to make sure they have adequate technology for the students while they're at home. So that's our big priority of our job is the state budget, and now we will have to pass the budget November 30th. Normally it's done June 30th, but this year with the pandemic, we basically passed the budget, a temporary budget in June, and we really have a lot of issues to address come November. It's going to be a very difficult couple months coming up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And my next question was going to be, explaining, the uniquenesses of all of your communities. So I'm going to skip that question because we want to just focus on McKees, Rocks, and Stowe. So I'm going to go to my next one. Now, my next question, I know that you were on the forefront I want to talk about bus transit and the access to bus transit. I do want to say, I'm sure that McKees Rocks would love to thank you as well, because you were, got some of the volunteers, you got people, you were at the meeting, and the outcome of that, they will be getting full service in November. So I just want to say, I want to make sure that, the community know that, what part you played in making sure that Port Authority was coming through the community. You want to speak about a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your efforts in bringing the community together to talk about the service that was needed. We were very fortunate enough to get a nice grassroots campaign together, and a lot of people utilized that line. And there's people working at the hospital at Ohio Valley, for instance, and we're seeing that right now, how people need access to transportation for their jobs. And we need to continue to have the conversation about restoring service. And also, some areas we might need 24-hour service. There's a lot of shift work, for instance, at the hospital up there. So I think another factor of this pandemic is we need to look at transportation within Allegheny County to see where we're lacking. And I certainly appreciate you bringing that situation to our attention. And I know recently we worked on another one up in Green Tree Road. There was an apartment complex that had been built up there, and there was no stop for them. So we recently got a line to come down the bottom of Green Tree Road to service that Ridgemont neighborhood as well. So we appreciate the residents bringing that to our concern. Obviously, the Port Authority is a county agency, but they do receive significant state funding, so we try to, give as much input as we can. But the community was fantastic with regard to the line down there and making sure that the service was restored on the weekend.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So let's talk about the McKees Rocks. So because we're going to talk about Stowe more when we get Rep Kulik on with us. So let me ask you, McKees Rocks, the data shows that there are a lot of men and women coming home back into the community with colorful backgrounds. They may have some jobs, disparaging that they may not know how to fill out paperwork, and they're coming home from being incarcerated. So let me ask you, what is your stance on the criminal justice reform and solidarity, not solitary?
Yeah, I think obviously society has really taken a look at this issue lately. We need to make sure that there is an exit plan for those that are incarcerated. We need to make sure while they're in there's some training programs and some counseling and have them ready to come out with a plan. And the goal is obviously to keep them out and to become productive in society and not to go back. And it's pretty interesting to watch how the changes have been made. And there's actually a lot of bipartisan legislation out there addressing the issue. From a Republican standpoint, it's a cost-saving issue, and I certainly understand that. But from the Democratic side, it's a people thing, and it's about reuniting people with their family. And when they've served their time, it's time for them to get a plan forward, and how do we work together with them for them to get back into society successfully. So it's something we all need to work on together. I think there's it's a national movement right now. You see, I was watching Dateline the other day, and it was fantastic. The reporter there spent a few days at a facility, I believe it was in Alabama, and he spent time with some prisoners who had been convicted under the age of 16, and it was very eye-opening, the stories that they had, and it was very informative, and I think society realizes, look, is it about punishment or is it about a plan moving forward? And for those that want to move forward, we got to help them. So I think it's important that it's bipartisan, and I'm excited at where that legislation has been moving. But
Okay, thank you for that. And yes, and I'm glad that you informed the community that it is bipartisan and which is needed. All hands on deck is right now is what's happening. And it doesn't mean what letter is behind your name. So I'm glad you brought that out, brought that up. Also, my next question is, a lot of McKees Rocks stayed open during this horrific time in our country during this pandemic. So what can essential workers, because now even I look at the person who fills the shelves up in our stores. So I look at them all together different now with a whole level different respect. What can the community look for in McKees Rocks pertaining to essential workers from a state rep level?
Yeah, and I think, you know, recently there's been some hazard pay for so-called essential workers, and that should be continue all the time because they're there. And like you said, we take those positions for granted many times. And I'll tell you another one that really is beneficial right now is the home healthcare workers. And there's so much turnover in those positions because they're not paid well enough. And they're crucial. They're crucial positions right now, especially for some people's family who weren't able to visit them for months, but their home health care aide was able to come in on a daily basis and make sure those folks were taken care of. That's another position that we really need to make sure are compensated because that is a thankless job.
Yeah.
And it also saves a lot of money on the other end from folks being in a living facility. Those positions are very crucial right now, too, and I think the pandemic has only opened our eyes up to how valuable a lot of positions are out there. And you're right. We've taken for granted a lot of positions for years, and we really need to take a look at that now and make sure that we treat them with respect and respect them on payday as well. So.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this quick question. Is all of McKees Rocks in your district, or I'm not talking Stowe, but is all of McKees Rocks, you are the state rep for all of McKees Rocks?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Before it was partitioned off. I had part of Stowe, but now, yeah, Anita has all the Stowe and I have all of McKees Rocks.
Okay. I didn't know. I was kind of confused with that, but I'm glad you cleared that up. I got like two more questions for you, Dan. You went in, you talked a little bit about, you know, the schools in McKees Rocks needing support in funding. I remember, you know, several months ago, before all of this pandemic and everything, I think it was last year, could have been the end of last year, a counselor had got on, and I think it kind of went national. You know, she had went on and asked for a simple, can someone send us a ream of paper? And it literally went national. So what can a state rep level do to help the schools? And you touched on it a little bit. Can you go back just and go a little deeper into that on how can the schools in McKees Rocks not worry about running out of paper or anything like that?
Absolutely. That shows the disparity between some districts. And through this pandemic, we have seen, our eyes have been open to see those differences even more so every day. Some of these school districts, they're concerned with building new facilities and doing all this, and we're worried about having enough paper and pens for the kids. It's embarrassing. We need to focus. I mean, there's some bills out there for a fair funding formula to make sure that all kids are given an equal education, and I think that we really need to focus on that now too, because obviously you see these disparities, and you see how some kids didn't miss a beat with you know, going online the next day or a week later, and other kids are waiting a month or 2 months just to get technology into their hand, and that's right. So we need to address that budget time again to make sure that all districts have enough. And you know, and frankly, we need to make sure that those who have too much need to help those out. So there'll be certainly some interesting conversations once we get back to some sort of normalcy, because you know that we have become aware of a lot more issues. through this whole ordeal. There's no question about it. But
Yeah.
and, in terms of that teacher, I certainly give her credit for going out there, and they got plenty of paper, but that should be the last thing a teacher should be worried about. She should have enough supplies, and her focus should be on the classroom, not having to do that. So.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is, though, that it's on the radar. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad that it's on the radar. I'm glad the bills. And so I'm going to wrap it up with, how can someone get in touch with you? Where's your office, your phone number? How, if they had, I know you didn't touch, and I know you're being modest, but you didn't touch on all your office does. Your office does, I sent a couple people down there that didn't have their ID. So your office does a lot. If you want to touch on a little bit of those, going into how can someone get in touch with you, your phone number or your email address, your address of your office. Do they need well, right now during COVID, they're going to need an appointment. But on a normal basis, how can someone get in touch with you?
The best way is email. It's DEASY @pahouse.net. That's my personal email, or by phone 412-928-9514. Currently, we're accepting appointments. We're trying to be as careful as we can. We've been dealing with a lot of unemployment cases, and we don't want more than one person in the office at a time. So we set up appointments. If somebody has an issue, we'll certainly get them, handled the next day or two from when they call. But we've been busy, and even with the pandemic, we usually have a senior health expo coming up this month in September, and we try to readjust things. So this year we're actually having a mobile senior fair. We will be having nurses come out and give flu shots to people who have parked their car actually across the street from my office in the parking lot there. They'll come get their shot in the parking lot, and we'll also have a bag of supplies that we normally hand out to people, information for seniors. So we're looking forward to trying the new drive-through senior fair this year. We will have 4 of them. We will be in McKees Rocks at the shopping center. I have to look at my calendar and see what day that is. It's a Friday coming up. But we have one in West End by our office. We have one in Crafton. We have one in Beachview, and we have one in McKees Rocks. So hopefully we're able to help residents get their flu shot in a safe way. And if they can't get to their doctor's office, it's right there in their neighborhood. So we're, if anybody has any questions, they could certainly give our office a call for that service. So that'll keep us busy this month. We also have some shredding events that we always do. So we'll be doing one of them in Crafton and one in Green Tree the next couple of weeks. So we're going to be busy before winter sets in, and try to make sure we help our constituents as best as we can. It's been a crazy year, but we're doing the best that we can.
Yeah. So I'm going to hope that the McKees Rock CDC takes down that email, because I do know that every event you have, if you're on the email list, you do get an email. I do know that. Let me ask you two more questions about how are the numbers looking to you with the census? And last but not least, can you let the community know, when is the deadline to get registered or to get a mail-in ballot, and when is election?
The election is November 3rd, the first Tuesday. Coming up soon, less than 60 days now. So the mail-in ballot is where there's a lot of controversy now. And I would suggest anybody that needs a mail-in ballot, they can give our office a call, and we'll send them the form to apply. I believe the county will be mailing them out as well. But certainly with the uncertainties with the post office, we would encourage people, if they're going to do the mail-in ballot, to do so early to make sure that there's no problems. And it's looking like that all the polling places will be in place for the fall, from what I understand. Obviously they were consolidated in the spring, and it was pretty difficult for a lot of people. A lot of challenges, but we got through it. And hopefully in the fall things are able to kind of get back to normal if they're able to get enough poll workers. And
Right.
if anybody is looking to work election day, I'm sure they're still looking for poll workers, and we need to make sure those positions are filled so that we have as many polling locations as possible.
Let me ask you this. How would someone, if they want to, because that is a paid position to be a poll
Correct.
worker, what would someone have to do to be a poll worker in McKees Rocks?
You would call the Allegheny County Election Department. I don't have that number handy with me, but I mean, you could call my office and we can get you the information. I know they're certainly very actively looking for people to work that day, and hopefully, as I said, they get those positions filled because it's important. It is, and you know, Terry, you know, we only had one polling location for the whole west end of the city, and it was very difficult for some people to get there. And McKees Rocks, same thing. But McKees Rocks is one neighborhood, one location isn't as bad, but in the city it was difficult. So hopefully in November we're able to fill those positions, and that's one less challenge to opening all the polling spots. So yeah, if anybody needs information, they're interested, call my office and we'll get them the information.
Okay, because I want the community to know as well, if you live in McKees Rocks, you still can be a poll worker in another part of the city. So now, if anyone that's online, we just got Mary Sue. Hi. If anyone, Ryan, Taris, Sonia, do you have a question before we let State Rep Deasy go?
Wanted to add one thing before questions, and that something else that Dan has been very pivotal in is economic development work and working as a partner with the CDC. Majority of our funds for our project are state sourced funds, and Dan's support over the years since he started has been absolutely critical. So he plays a big role in advocating for us to bring those dollars to McKees Rocks. So we are really grateful for that and for having him as an available partner. We meet with Dan on a regular basis. He's always there. We pick up the phone. We have an issue, so he functions in that role as well. I just wanted to share that.
Well, thank you for that, Taris, because that's very important. Like I was saying, what comes out of the state office, and that is part of the state funding going into the communities for the community. So I'm glad you brought that up.
And just one other item, just for the people out here. Dan puts together a really wonderful newsletter that he mails to his constituents. It's like really full of great information. It's very informative. So when you see that in the mail, you just had one, 2 weeks ago, Dan, or last week, that came in the mail. Very informative. So keep your eye out for that.
Yeah, and like I stated before, if you caught his email, get on the email list so you can be stay caught up with your community and what's going on. In fact, thanks, Ryan. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan. Yes, there's his thank you. There's his Dan Deasy's email. I have no further questions for you. Again, I hope that you can join with Anita on the 7th so we can show the community that they have 2 state reps exactly where, what each is doing, and keeping the community informed on what's happening right now.
Sure. I mean, probably at that point, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about the upcoming budget process. We'll probably have a little more information, see where we're at, what options are out there, and hopefully we'll have some answers at that point in a few weeks.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else you would like to say before we go and close it out?
No, I want to thank you for the opportunity again. I apologize for the technical difficulties starting out, but we got everything worked out. It worked out pretty well. But no, I appreciate you having me, and anytime we want to sit and talk about the issues, certainly count me in. And I appreciate Taris's kind words. I mean, Taris has been there a long time, longer than I have down there, and we've worked well together, along with our Senator Fontana. He's been a great partner, and we sit down together, and I'm very fortunate to have Wayne throughout my whole district because we prioritize the projects. We both get behind the ones that we feel are great for the community, and sometimes it helps to have 2, and even Anita, sometimes something overlaps for the school district or whatever. Anita joins Wayne and I, so it's a pretty good combination sometimes to have 2 reps in the center in the district.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that, and I'm glad you said Senator Fontanes because now he's on my radar. So I will be calling him. So I have nothing else. I want to give a full-hearted thank you for your time. Thank you for educating us. I will be reaching out to you for next month and some further, some further collaboration.
Okay, great. I appreciate you having me, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
All right,
Thanks,
see y'all.
everyone.